Good morning, student. Today Purnima is going to tell you about If I Were You. This is chapter number 11 and it is written by Douglas James. So first let me tell you about the author of this lesson. James W. Jimmy Douglas was an American author, activist and Christian theologist. He is a graduate of Santa Clara University. He and his wife Shelley Douglas founded the Ground Zero Center for Nonviolent Action in Pulaski, Washington, and Mary's House, a Catholic worker house in Birmingham, Alabama. In 1997, the Douglas received the Pacem in Terrace Award. So this is about the writer. Now, theme of a drama. Now, as I told you that this is a drama, If I Were You, written by Douglas James, and as I will be telling you what is the characteristic of a drama. So drama should have a character. Drama should have characters. That means the people, the person who is participating in the drama. Okay, then the drama should have a dialogue. A good drama should have a plot or a subplot. So this is a characteristic of a drama. So this is a drama that has traces of humor in it. So first of all, children, basically the theme here is a humor. It actually the ideas of developing a presence of mind and intelligence while being faced with a threatening situation is being highlighted in this lesson. Okay, so now I will be telling you about the summary. Okay, so this is the story of the intruder who entered the house of a playwright. Now children, there are two characters here. One is the intruder and the person to whom house he had entered, and the name of that person is Gerald. So this is the story of the intruder who entered the house of a playwright. She, however, did not know that the owner of the house was a playwright. He only knew him by his name, Gerald. He had heard about him a few things. He knew that he was something of a mystery man who lived in the wilds of Essex. Gerald gave his order on phone and never met the tradesman. The intruder was the criminal who had also killed a gentleman. So this was children about the Gerald. He was a playwrighter, children, but the intruder was not aware of this fact. He was not knowing that Gerald is a he is a playwright. He only knew him by his name. He had heard about him a few things. So what were those few things? He knew that he was something of a mystery man who lived in the wilds of Essex. Gerald gave his order on phone and never met the tradesman. The intruder was the criminal who had also killed a policeman. He was now being chased by police. He thought that he resembled Gerald in body. He decided to kill Gerald and then leave himself as Gerald. So he broke into the cottage of Gerald one day. Gerald was then preparing to leave his house. He was going to attend a rehearsal of his drama. He has prepared his bag in which there were props for the rehearsal. Well, the intruder threatened Gerald with his revolver. He asked him to answer his question, and then he told him that he intended to kill him, and that's why he killed him, because he wanted to live by his name. What was his name? Gerald. And children, fortunately, Gerald face resembles intruder face resembles Gerald, and since the police were after him, he wanted to kill Gerald and he wanted to have his name. So this was his idea now to kill him, and that was the reason he broke into his house, into his cottage one day. Gerald was then preparing to leave from his house. He was going to attend a rehearsal of his drama. He had prepared his bag in which there were props for the rehearsal. The intruder threatened Zerold with his revolver. He asked him to answer his questions. Then he told him that he intended to kill him and then live in his house as Zerold. Since he was resembled Zerold in body and also because not many people came to see him, he thought he could live as Zerold the rest of his life. He learned to imitate Zerold's voice. He learned to, the moment he went to his house, he saw how he's speaking on phone, how he talks, what is his way, and when he watched, he told Zerold that why he had came to his house, he wanted to kill him. However, when the intruder was about to shoot Zerold, Zerold warned him to be careful and not to kill him. He told the intruder that he was also a criminal and a murderer and the police was after him. In case he killed Zerold, he was sure to be hanged, if not as himself, then as Zerold. Hearing this, the intruder began to think this was the opportunity for Zerold. He asked him to hurry and run with him in his car to a safe place as the police was likely to come there soon. He opened the door, which was in fact the door of a cupboard. The intruder looked in to see what it was. Just then Zerold gave him a push. The revolver fell as the intruder stepped into the cupboard. Zerold shut the door and picked up the revolver. Then he telephoned to call in the police to arrest the intruder. And finally, children, he was arrested. So this is a very nice and interesting play in which the intruder entered the house of a playwright and he only knew that the name of the person was Zerold, nothing else. And children, where he had seen him, once he had seen him at a place, Zerold was there inside the car, and one day he was also there standing on the road, and he found two people were coming from the opposite side where he was standing. These two people, they talked that how his face, the face of the intruder resembled Zerold. When he looked at the Zerold, he was shocked. Zerold was having the same face which he had. Children, then after that he made this plan that if I will take the name of Zerold by killing him, I will be safe from the police who was after his life. Okay, he was there to catch him. So he had apparently heard a few things about him. The intention of the intruder was to kill Zerold and impersonate or imitate or pretend to be as the dead man and live in his house. He had a vague idea of Zerold. The intruder was a murderer who had to his credit the murder of a policeman too. The police were on a lookout for him, and that was the reason he was at Zerold cottage. When the intruder broke into Zerold cottage, the latter was preparing to be out for a drama rehearsal. He was preparing his bed on which he had placed the props. The intruder threatened to kill Zerold using his revolver. He followed this up by asking the playwright a few questions and revealed to him his wicked intention. Zerold, getting a grip of the situation, tells the intruder that he himself was a murderer and he was a man wanted by the police, and support his story by telling him that if he, the intruder, does something as he intended to do, it would be him who would be hung for having killed Zerold. Therefore, he tells the intruder that one of his men had been caught by the police and tells him to accompany him to escape, and says that he has placed a man to let him know if the police were approaching. He tells the intruder to shoot him in the car if he does not believe what had been told to him. As they were about to leave, Zerold opens the door, which was in reality the door to a wardrobe, and pushes him into the wardrobe, knocks the revolver off the intruder's hands and locks the door, and he then, children, call police. Okay. Now I would like to discuss so this is all. Now children, the explanation and the doubt will be cleared in your online classes and in the offline classes. Now we can discuss some of the question answer. Now answer the question in one or two words on in short phrases. So at last a sympathetic audience, who say this? So this has been said by Zerold. Why does he say it? He says so because the intruder had asked him to talk about himself. Is he sarcastic or serious? He is being sarcastic because he had a knowledge of the intruder intention. Now question number 2. Why does the intruder choose Zerold as a man whose identity he want to take on? The intruder had chosen Zerold at his target whose identity he wanted to take on because he was of the same physical structure as himself. Beside, as Zerold, he could move around freely, doing nothing in particular. He could lead a comfortable life without running at the sight of a crop. Now, question number 3. I said it with bullets. Who say this? Zerold said these lines. What does it mean? He says that when something went wrong, he reached not by speaking but by using his gun and shooting the person down with his bullet. Is it the truth? What is the speaker reason for saying this? He says so because having understood the murderer's or the intruder's intention, he was putting on an act of being a dangerous person so as to save himself. He had not killed anyone. What is Zerold's profession? Quote the part of the play that support your answer. Zerold seems to be a person who was involved in the business of theater and art. It is mentioned that he was a playwright. When he saw the intruder first, he reacts by saying this is all very melodramatic, not very original. So later when he enters into a conversation with a threatening intruder, he says at last a sympathetic audience. So he also asks the intruder, are you American or is that merely a clever imitation? When he warns him by saying, better be careful, wise guy. Further, when the intruder goes about elaborating his plan for impersonation, Zerold says, in most melodrama, the villain is foolish enough to delay his killing long enough to be frustrated. Yet again, while he was making up a story about his own identity, Zerold tells him about his attire, that's a disguise outfit, false mustache, and whatnot. And finally, after trapping the intruder in his wardrobe, he picks up the phone and says, sorry, I can't let you have the props in time for rehearsal. I've had a spot of brother, quite amusing. I think I will put it in my next play. You will soon stop being smart. Who says this? Why does the speaker say it? What according to the speaker will stop Zerold from being smart? Now, right. So children, this was the important question answer, and now I will be children discussing few more question and answer. So some question paper from the sample paper, though this time in term 1 you people will be having children MCQs, okay, but then you should also be prepared if such type of question paper will come in the test. So first of all, a small question answer. How does the intruder threaten Zerold after entering his house? What's Zerold's reaction to his behavior? The intruder threatens Zerold that he would soon stop being smart. He will make Zerold crawl. He wants to know a few things, but Zerold remains cool. He does what the intruder asks him to do. What thing does the intruder ask Zerold in the beginning? The intruder asks Zerold if he runs a car and he is an American. Zerold replied to the intruder question. The intruder asked him further if the people often come out here. Why does the intruder want to kill Zerold? The intruder said that he has taken a fancy to him. He is already wanted for murder. He would live as Zerold after killing him because he is similar to him. How does the intruder hope to be like Zerold after he kills him? The intruder said that he has only got to wear spectacles, then he would be like him. He would wear Zerold clothes as they would fit him beautifully. How does Zerold say that the intruder plan for impersonating him won't be successful? Zerold said that he killed a cop when he did a job in a town. Since then, he has been dodging the police. If the intruder shoots him, he would surely be hanged, if not as himself, then as Zerold. How does Zerold befool the intruder with his false story? Zerold tells the intruder that one of his men had been caught and found the things which should have been burned. So due to that, he expected trouble that night. That's why he wanted to clear off at the earliest. How did Zerold compel the intruder to take him with him? Zerold finds that the intruder doesn't believe in his story of trouble that evening, so he asks him to go with him. If the intruder finds his story false, Zerold asks him to shoot him in the car itself. What does Zerold tell the intruder so that the intruder is sure of what Zerold says? Zerold tells the intruder not to waste time and go with him. He has got a man posted on the main road. He would ring him up if he sees the police. How does Zerold outsmart the intruder? Zerold asks the intruder not to be fool and look for himself. Then he opens the door. The intruder turns his head to lean forward. Then Zerold pushes him into the cupboard. He knocks the revolver out of his hand. He then slams the door and locks it. Then he calls the police. Was Zerold pleased to see the intruder? What impression do you form from his behavior? There is no reason why Zerold should have been pleased to see an intruder with a gun into his house. He was a clever man, so he must have understood that the intruder had evil intention, yet he did not lose his calm. Even the intruder noted it and said that Zerold was trying to be calm and careless. So Zerold told the intruder that he was pleased to see him, although it was a lie. Zerold's behavior shows that he was a very sensible person. He did not lose his balance easily. He knew how to behave in a crisis. He leaves an impression on the readers that he is a very intelligent and tactful person. You will soon stop being smart. I will make you crawl, said the intruder. Did the succeeding events prove him to be true? How? The intruder was proved wrong. Zerold was too smart for him. Instead of making Zerold crawl, he finds himself shut in a cupboard at the end. The intruder wanted to know a few things about Zerold. In the process, he told him a lot about himself. He told Zerold that he was a criminal and a murderer. He told him that he had come to murder Zerold and leaves as Zerold after him. This helped Zerold make a plan. He told the intruder that he himself was a criminal. He had been a murderer himself, and that the police were after him. He advised the intruder to run away with him. Then he opened a door, but the intruder thought it was an exit door. However, it was a cupboard. The intruder was shut in it. Thus, the intruder was proved wrong. Zerold. In most melodrama, the villain is foolish enough to delay his killing long enough to be frustrated. Does it prove true in If I Were You? A very nice question, student. So, yes, the statement holds true about the play If I Were You. The villain in this drama is the intruder, but for one thing, he had done his homework well. He had got a lot of information about Zerold accept his profession. He made a good plan. The plan was to kill Zerod and then live the rest of life as Zerod. He resembled Zerod so much that he would easily get away with that. He had also learned to imitate Zerod's voice. However, he indulged in useless talking. In doing so, he delayed killing him. This gave Zerod enough time to make a plan and frustrate the intruder's plan. So this was all. Now some more important question I'm going to discuss with you, student. So imagine that Zerol decide to take some safety measure after the incident. What measure would you suggest to him? The first important safety measure which Zerol need to take is that he should not live in a remote area like that. Since he lives all alone, he should live in a colony or where there should be a neighbor. In that case, there should be a neighbor who should take care of him in the case of emergency. The description shows that he is quite rich, so he should have a watchman also. This watchman will prevent a criminal from breaking into the house. Thus, Zerod will be safe from any intruder. Now, the best way to deal with a crisis is not to lose your calm. Discuss with reference to the play If I Were You. The play If I Were You clearly shows how Zerod saved his life. He also helped the police to catch a dreaded criminal because of his calm, seeing the criminal suddenly before him with a gun pointed at him. An ordinary man might have become completely nervous. Yet Zerod behaved as if nothing had happened. He greeted the criminal as if he were a guest of honor. The confidence affected the criminal. The intruder talked for quite some time. Thus Zerod got valuable time. He also got even more valuable information to trap the criminal. The criminal had come to frighten and kill Zerod, but Zerod calm frightened the criminal. Zerod handed him over to the police. So children, this were long question, and so then it can come, children, write the summary. So you can start something like that he was a cultural playwright. He lives in a small cottage alone. He does meet many people and he has to go out soon, but before he does, an intruder enter his cottage. He has a gun in his hand. He bumps accidentally against the table. Zerol welcomed him with confidence. Zerol never lost confidence, and that's why he won also. The intruder opens up and asks Zerol many questions about his life, his cottage, how many people come there, did he live alone. Zerol is cool and confidently he answers all his questions. He understands the intruder design. He answers his question with humor, wit and irony. So all his questions were on answers with humor, wit and irony. He says that the intruder did not require a great brain to break into his little cottage. He even asked him about his specialty. At last, Zerol understood the intruder wanted to murder him and leaves as Zerol because he looked like him. Zerol at once told the intruder that the police was after him since he was also a murderer. Zerol explained that unfortunately one of his men had been caught. He was expecting trouble that a night. He was be off that night. He and then met the intruder, understood that it was good for him if he went with him. He also told him that if it was a frame, he could shoot him in the car. Thus intruder agreed, but when he was about to cross the door, Zerol pushed him into the nearby cupboard. He then slammed the door of the cupboard and he ran to the police to get him arrested. So children, what is the moral of the play? The moral of the play is that we should never lose confidence, children. We should never lose our presence of mind when we are in trouble. In fact, we should be calm. We should think how to save us, what to do, what steps should we take. Okay, so you can see how nicely Zerol has taken all these steps, how intelligently he has dealt with lot of patience to the intruder, and finally he pushed him to the cupboard. And you must imagine that what must have happened to him when the cupboard was locked. Okay, what must have happened? He must have called the police, and the police must have come to catch the intruder.